back, sir.
Thanks, Ari. Nice to be back.
What do you hear from defendant Trump here when he talks about loyalty, as well as people like Ms. Ellis, who seems to be adjusting her views of him?
Well, as an outsider, loyalty to Donald Trump sounds like a one-way street. But I have to say something about the times we're living in, because Michael Beschler told us how we got here. But like when he mentioned Richard Nixon and he said was barred from the presidency, and if he had more time, he would have explained it. But he stepped down because of bipartisan atmosphere. It was the Republicans who called for him to step down. They couldn't support him. We live in a totally different times right now. I mean, it's very scary. There was a University of Chicago study that showed that 12 million people would favor violence to support Donald Trump. And somebody I always thought, responsible as Governor Huckabee, just the other day said that if the legal system brings down Donald Trump, that the next election will be decided by bullets rather than ballots. That's very scary times we're living in. And I may be naive, but I think that what's going to save the system and our democracy, because Donald Trump, by the way, said he doesn't think there's much of democracy left. I think it's the Constitution. And I'm using that interchangeably with democracy, which will save us. And I think what we have to do is make sure he gets a fair trial. And I think the trial that's going to go is the one in the District of Columbia. I think it's going to be a challenge to get a fair trial there, but I think the judge will do everything possible to ensure that. I don't rule out a change of venue. I mean, just recently, the former district attorney of Baltimore was granted a change of venue. The Oklahoma bomber, Timothy McVeigh, was granted a change of venue. So we have to see. The law is, we don't know if we can get a fair jury until we try. But a fair trial, I think, is what will show the Constitution works. I used to be totally against televising trials. Unfortunately, this trial will not be televised because it's in Washington, but I wish it were, because then the American people would see the overwhelming evidence. But he needs to be...
I'm going to jump in. I do that with all guests from time to time, but I appreciate the substantive points you're making. And again, I remind